It is time to endorse Donald J. Trump as president if you are in the crypto or Web3 industry, which I know already a lot of you do not want to hear that, do not like to hear that. The majority of people in crypto, Web3 tend to lean center left. I mean, there's an idea that some of these people are Republican, but most of them are not. Of course, those of you that are Republican, this probably isn't news to your ears. But the majority of people in the industry do not like Donald Trump. We've seen that over and over again. A lot of people have come to realize that their votes for Biden in 2020 were a giant mistake. Now, many of us who are at least kind of on the political read knew that Biden was going to be a mistake for the Web3 industry, but some of you had to find out the hard way. But let's step back because a lot of you, of course, if you don't like Donald Trump, aren't going to be very quick to want to endorse him at all. But here is what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you are strictly taking out every other issue and just looking at the Web3 Bitcoin landscape, he's the obvious front runner for the industry. And that's something that you're going to have to figure out on your own, whether Bitcoin and Web3 are your top priority for all the range of political issues that we're looking at today. And if it's not, that's okay. But my whole goal and point of this video is if Web3 and Bitcoin are your top priority, if you're a single issue voter when it comes to Web3 technologies and blockchain in the Bitcoin industry, you have a very obviously clear choice, and that is Donald Trump. So let's walk through our options. Okay, so first of all, if Biden is president again, Elizabeth Warren is going to continue to have a very powerful hand over him. What that means is 4 more years of Gary Gensler, 4 more years of advocates against our industry, 4 more years of a federal office that are looking to tax Bitcoin miners, 4 more years of different state strategies from Democratic-led states working with the feds to try to upend our industry. That is the reality. If you haven't noticed that already, you haven't been paying attention, you've had your head in the sand. I could, whatever saying or euphemism you want to do, but it's so obvious that Biden, not just now, by the way, it was obvious from the very beginning in the 2020 election that Biden would not be good for the industry. So congrats to all the people who understood that back then. For all you hop-ons now, like the Ryan Selkises of the world who have, just because of October 7th and the stuff around those issues, have come on, surprisingly, to the center-right Republican side and are now pro-Republican in the crypto world. This industry, these facts have been kind of laid out on the table now for quite some time. None of this should be a surprise to anybody. If it is a surprise, you haven't been paying attention. It's been so in your face and so obvious. So let's talk about RFK Jr. Guy doesn't have a chance. I say this over and over again. You're wasting your money. You're wasting your political capital. I understand that a lot of you have a penchant for losing and like to waste your money and your resources. We go through this every election. We go through libertarian candidates. We go through Green Party candidates. We go through candidates who we know for a fact have no chance, never make a difference, all for some dream, and it is just that, a dream, that a third-party candidate will come and arise from the ashes and the two-party system will come to an end. Even with the majority of voters being independent, in that huge swath of independent voters, those independent voters never vote independent. That has always been clear. It has always been the case. They are always voting for a party. And if you don't like the two-party system, that's actually not necessarily a corruption problem. You could argue that it is. It's a mathematical problem. We have a winner-take-all system, which means that it encourages a two-party system. That's basic math. You can look it up. There's some term for it on Wikipedia that I can probably link down below. If you don't like the two-party system, get over it. If you want an independent to run, the independents run with the label of a Republican or a Democrat. That's what Trump did in 2016. Trump ran as an independent twice. Then he ran as a Republican, and that's where he got traction. Bernie Sanders ran as an independent. When he ran as a Democrat, then he gained traction. RFK is an idiot because if he was actually honest about trying to make change, he would have just stayed a Democrat. He would have stayed a Democrat, forced Biden's hand. He probably could have gotten a lot of electoral votes, far more probably than Nikki Haley. He was such a powerful figure and so scary to the Democratic Party that they literally had to move the New Hampshire primary to South Carolina. But this guy, for a variety of reasons, and my suspicion is that because he probably made a deal with Democrats, decided to drop out and run as an independent, which tells me everything that I needed to know right then and there. And for those of you who buy into, well, he dropped out to become an independent because he wants to buck the two-party system, you're stupid. That's not how the political system works. RFK is a smart guy. I like a lot of what he says, and he's smart enough to understand that if he actually wanted to cause trouble, he would have stayed as a Democrat. It would have messed up the DNC's entire replace Biden plan, which we know they kind of want to do. You can't do that if you have someone like RFK consistently claiming electoral votes and giving them a huge problem at the DNC, because he could have actually been the alternative to Biden if they want to replace him. But no, he dropped out. So any fundraising, any political activism, I get it, RFK, it's cool to have him speak at your conferences, but any other notions toward him is completely useless and should not be paid attention to. People advocating for him should not be taken seriously at all. So that leaves Donald Trump. Okay, so what's the strategy here? A lot of people will say, okay, well, Donald Trump wasn't necessarily pro-Bitcoin. He's never said, I love Bitcoin. He's a boomer who likes the US dollar. Here's what you guys, once again, need to understand. I don't need a president to say he loves Bitcoin to be pro-Bitcoin. I just need him to not touch it and let the industry flourish, which is exactly what Donald Trump would do, which is exactly what he said in his latest statements. Further proof is the fact that Trump released his own NFTs. Well, what else do you need? No other presidential candidate has done that. And if you understand Trump at all, especially if you hate him, we know that he's just a grifter. He loves grifting his own businesses. That's why he launched the shoes. That's why he launched the NFTs. He's not going to do anything that hurts his own investments. And that should be pretty obvious to anybody who's been paying attention the past 10 years. And so there's no way, at least I could argue, that he's going to hurt the NFT ecosystem or the Ethereum network. But there's no doubt in my mind that Trump would not be trying to tax Bitcoin miners. There's no doubt in my mind that Trump would be pro CBDC. And if you watch some of my previous videos, those of you who bet on Vivek, wisely so, my argument from the beginning was that Vivek was actually a good bet because he was never going to win the presidential election, which means he was going to be an advisor to Donald Trump, which is what he was gearing toward the whole time, which is what makes that man so smart, which means we now have a top Web3 crypto ally in the Trump administration. You see that by the fact that as soon as Vivek drops out, Trump comes out saying he doesn't like CBDCs. What other proof do you need that Trump's going to be our candidate for the Web3 industry? Further, Trump would get rid of Gary Gensler. That is also very obvious. Presidents can choose who the chair of the SEC is at any point in time. As soon as Trump is elected, he could simply tell Gensler, hey, you're no longer the chair, and appoint someone like Hester Pierce. Further, whoever Trump appoints, like, he'll get to appoint Gary Gensler's replacement because Gary Gensler's term is up in 2026. So there's a whole range of reasons why Donald Trump, on the most simplest of reasons, is actually the pro Web3 candidate. Okay, so what does this mean as far as action goes? Like, what do you do from here? Well, maybe it means you start fundraising for him. Maybe it means you go to one of those Mar-a-Lago invites. Maybe it means you try to go to a Trump rally. Maybe it means you try to attend some of his inner circle workings. You're placing a bet. All politics is a bet. A lot of you are venture capitalists. You're familiar with betting. Here's what I can tell you. Elizabeth Warren and the Biden regime already don't like you. I don't know if you could change that with some money that you give them, and that is a possible initiative. Maybe you do give money to Elizabeth Warren's campaign and see if she cozies up to you. But the problem is she's already locked herself in a stance, as has the Biden administration. So you obviously don't have an ear there. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in. So what does that mean? You have an opportunity with the Donald Trump campaign and with Republicans at large to kind of capture that party. And this doesn't mean that you have to make it partisan. All that means is when we're talking about the presidential election and maybe the Senate, which we want to flip, you have an opportunity here for crypto to really have influence. Every day I'm talking to people who are too scared to come to the United States and move their companies here. Although I would still actually disagree and say that the United States is still a great place for the industry, far better than the majority of the world. people are still scared. If you want them to stop being scared, we have to get dirty and serious about who we're going to support. Republicans have, people in the crypto industry have already said that they're going to support Republicans flipping the Senate. They're trying to flip Montana. They're trying to flip Ohio, where Republicans are probably going to pick up West Virginia. I mean, Nevada is competitive. Pennsylvania could be competitive. So the Senate's an interesting story. And then we have the House, which is perceived to vote to flip for us, to flip for Democrats. And that isn't necessarily true. But crypto people could be donating to, there's only about 30 different races that matter on the congressional House side. All of them are lean left or lean right or toss-ups. So if the crypto industry even starts donating to those, we could have influence not only in the presidency and the Senate, but the House too, meaning we have a trifecta of influence and could really pass a lot of really good policy in 2024. All this to say is support Donald Trump if you're in the Web3 crypto industry, and if Web3 and crypto are your number one priority. That is so obvious, it shouldn't have to be said, but no one else is saying it because people in this industry are nerds and incredibly scared of supporting Donald Trump. I remember pretty much every conference that I've gone to, anytime we've talked about presidential elections, people have complained and said, oh, I hope it's not a rematch between Biden and Trump again. Well, it was going to be. It was so obvious. So congratulations to all the people who got that wrong and will probably continue to get the political read wrong for quite some time. This is only if Web3 is your number one priority. Now, I have plenty of Democratic friends. I have plenty of Republican friends who don't like Donald Trump. If Web3 is not your number one priority, you're not a single issue voter, then you've got some things to weigh out and some decisions to make. If abortion is very important to you and crypto is very important to you, you're going to have to decide which one of those issues is more important. And if you just hate Donald Trump so much so that you'd be fine voting for an anti-Web3, anti-crypto candidate, that's okay. But you have to make that choice, and you have to understand where you're at, and you have to understand what issues are most important to you, because at the end of the day, you're the one voting and it's your conscience on the line. And some of you can throw away your vote to RFK. It's perfectly okay to waste your time, waste your money, and live in a dream world where voting for RFK makes a difference. And in a sense, RFK is a vote. It's really a vote for Biden, I think. And as long as you're okay with, giving the election over to Biden because you want to vote for RFK, that's okay too. But you have to understand that that's what you're doing and be adults about the decisions that you're making. So if you didn't like this speech, oh, well, too bad, right? This is the best of the reality that I could present, because I do believe personally that Donald Trump is going to be the best vector for the industry. And as long as Vivek Ramaswamy is a part of that picture, which I really think he will be, I think it's absolutely going to be true. If you want to get rid of Gensler, if you want to neuter Elizabeth Warren's power, and you want to get rid of some of these federal bureaucrats who are obviously overreaching day by day and continuing to meddle in our industry, you have to vote for the guy who's going to be against all of that. And whether it's pretty or not, that guy is Donald Trump.